Superman Returns by Bryan Singer is a very misunderstood movie. It has a lot of good things and it has a lot of not so good things. I'm going to do my best to try and give this thing a fair and unbiased review. I will say this. Is it better than Superman's 3 and 4? Yes, it is. Superman Returns goes back to the tone of Superman 1 and Superman 2. It takes itself seriously again. A lot of the goofy nonsense between 3 and 4 has completely been wiped out. This movie's a clean slate. It serves as the official Superman 3 in a way. The cast, everyone in the cast does a good job. Though, even though some actors, to me, they kind of seem out of place, at least they're good in the roles. Brandon Routh does a good version of Christopher Reeves, though I think Superman in this movie is really underwritten. Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane, she's okay, though since since this is the same Lois Lane from the previous 2 movies, when did a Lois Lane de-age to a fucking teenager? That's all I'm gonna say. Frank Langella as Perry White, he was fine. Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor was probably the best part of this movie is Kevin Spacey as Lex. Though, I do got some criticism when it comes to Lex. Now, Spacey is this weird combination of modern-day comic book Lex and real estate agent Lex. Meaning, he's a combination of the Lex we all know from the comic books and Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor. So it's a kind of a mixed bag. He has that intimidation. He has the intimidation and cunningness of comic book Lex, but he has that, I need to be a real estate agent of Gene Hackman. So it's kind of a weird mix. And his whole story is that he creates this landmass out of kryptonite, and he wants the world to pay to go on, or something really dumb like that. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. This is going to go into a negative in a little bit, but let me finish saying my positives. From a production standpoint, the movie looks great. Bryan Singer does a great job behind the director's chair. These special effects from a 2006 standpoint, they look good. They look great. We got to remember, this was the first time Superman was brought to life with modern-day technology at that time. Damn, it's been 12 years ago. Goddamn, Jesus Christ. I'm already saying that time. Anyway, yeah. So this is the first Superman movie to actually have CG effects, and for what it is, it looks good for the most part. Some of it looks kind of bad, and the CGI reconstruction of Brandon Routh looks really jarring. But that is what it is. They're still working out the kinks, but for the most part, the effects, they look good. The cinematography, this movie is really well shot. It looks great. Especially these nice little flashback scenes when we see young Clark on the farm, jumping single bounds, and it's really sunny and it's really bright, cheerful cinematography. So I like all that stuff. That stuff was great. The overall production design was great. The practical effects, the sets, they look fine. They look great as well. And the action sequences, for which they are, there's some good ones. Superman's first initial return when he's trying to save a plane from falling into the sky. That's a great action scene. The scene where he's flying around taking down some henchmen here and there, those are good too. The whole final act where Superman's trying to stop Lex and his kryptonite and his new kryptonite planetoid thing, all that is that's really thrilling stuff as well. So yeah, see, this movie has a lot of good things going for it, but it falls off the rails because the story is not quite there, and this movie is more worried about being an homage to the originals, to the Donner films, and it doesn't really stand on its own 2 feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has elements where it could be good. The whole idea of Superman and Lois having an illegitimate son, it's a good idea on paper, but the execution is way off, and they don't really explore that idea. And they don't explore the idea. Like, it's clear as day that it is at the end of the movie. And then maybe at the beginning of the movie, it's kind of clear as day that it is, but they don't really explore that idea. They hint and they tease at it, but they don't really do anything with it. They have this character of Richard White, who is Perry White's nephew, who is seeing Lois, and he's a useless character. He serves no purpose. His function is to just is to pop and say, "Hey, how are you? I'm still in the movie." James Marsden, you gave up Cyclops for a nothing role in this. You didn't do much, bro. What the hell, man? They didn't even attempt to make him interesting. I mean, he's in the final battle, but he doesn't really do much. He just flies everyone to safety. And not only that, the movie, I guess, wants to do a triangle, but doesn't really go there. And it's just, it's just a monkey wrench. And like I said before, Lex's character in this movie is a combination of comic book Lex and Gene Hackman Lex, a combination of, but at the same time, I want more of that industrial tycoon Lex, not the real estate agent Lex. Real estate agent Lex to me, he's not fascinating. He's not really engaging. He's kind of boring. Industrial Lex, he's more cunning. He's more dangerous. He's more of a presence. He can use his money and his ties to the industrial business to be more of an opposing threat. But I don't like it, but at least the movie tries to make it work, and bless its soul, it does try. The whole thing of Superman disappearing for 5 years and then coming back, but he gives no explanation. He doesn't really give he gives a flimsy explanation for leaving. And since this movie wants to be a spiritual sequel to the Reeves movies, it doesn't really understand those movies, because Reeves' Superman would not just take off and leave. He would at least tell you he's leaving and tell you how long he's going to be gone for. He won't just pick up one day and just bounce. That's what Reeves' Superman is. He's the big blue Boy Scout again. Ralph's Superman, it's kind of a disconnect. He's like a disconnected Superman. He just vanishes, then he magically appears again. And there's no reason as to why he left or to why he's gone. Now, of course, we know why he left. Astronomers found fragments of Krypton. He wanted to see what was there, and he found nothing. Of course, this movie never got a sequel, so we will never know exactly what could have been. And that's this movie. This movie is, like I said, this movie is more of like a setup for a trilogy, and doesn't really do a lot to tell its own story. Like I said, it's more worried about being an homage and a love letter to the Donner Superman movies, and it doesn't know how to tell its own story in the process. Like, you can pay homage and show tribute all you want, but if you can't stand on your own 2 feet with an interesting story and validate a reason for existing, then I'm sorry, your movie just doesn't really serve a purpose in the grand scheme of things. And like I said, this movie has good elements, it just doesn't really expand on those elements. And not only that, it's really long. This is a 2.5 hour movie, and they're all long stretches where nothing really interesting happens, and not a lot of character development happens either. Not only that, Superman doesn't really act like Superman a lot of the times. There are times where he does, when he says, flying is statistically the safest form of transportation. That stuff is good. But then there's other times where he's just like stalking Lois and her family at the house, being creepy man and not Superman. So yeah, those are really I don't really have a whole lot to say about Superman Returns. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it's not a great movie. It's an okay movie. Like, you can watch Superman Returns, and you're gonna get some enjoyment out of it. Like I said, its tone is more closer to the Donner movies. All this silliness of Superman 3 and 4 has been wiped clean. But, this movie does have a lot of flaws, and if those flaws would have been fixed, then this movie could have been something special. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give Superman Returns a solid 6.5 out of 10. It's above average. It ain't nothing special, but it's not anything horrible. So, if you've seen Superman Returns, let me know in the comment sections below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? I want to know. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.